Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Martin Dreyfus Show and welcome back to our continued coverage of the Russia-Ukraine crisis. Now, in breaking news, Russians are actually fleeing their own country, of course, due to the economic sanctions crumbling the ruble, as well as Putin going against majority, if not a vast majority of Russians' opinions. So let's go ahead and go live to Russians leaving to Finland.
Now, Russia's invasion of Ukraine has obviously sent shockwaves right across this region and, of course, neighboring countries, including Finland. Finland itself was invaded by the Soviet Union during the Second World War. And now, for the first time in the country's history, public opinion has shifted towards the country favoring joining NATO. And that's despite President Putin's threat of military and political consequences. Well, our World Affairs editor John Simpson reports from the Finnish-Polish border.
So my initial thoughts as they come in is, in Putin's head, if Russians are leaving into Finland, if they become terroristic / traitors, is that going to give him the gall or the desire to bomb Finland, to attack Finland? Because if they do attack Finland, boom, NATO's in war, boom, World War III. So as all of this is progressing, a lot more moving pieces that could lead to World War III are in place, and a lot more things are going to have to take place to keep this de-escalated. So I'm going to be watching very closely as escalation becomes very much so a possibility.
A Finnish border patrol sets out along the line of the frontier. Times are changing here. Russia's attack on Ukraine has been a profound shock to people in Finland, and a majority of Finns now want to give up their old neutrality and join the Western alliance. A solitary red post marks the point where Russian territory begins.
And so, as a direct consequence of the invasion of Ukraine,
it's interesting to see that all of the citizens of Finland do want to, of course, join the West. However, more importantly, we are here to see the Russians actually going into Finland. So we're actually going to go ahead and cross over to this video.
Well, it's clear that the motives have changed in 1 week. So now we can see from the luggage they carry and so on that people are moving to somewhere else. So they are basically moving for good.
It's terrible, man. One person has completely crumbled an entire country. They can't even be patriotic about their own country. Like, beyond America's flaws, beyond any country's flaws, we love to be proud of our countries, and these people literally look at their country in disgust and feel the need to leave because they don't want to be a part of that anymore. They can't have their name and their lives tied to something of that nature. And as we'll see later, it's not as easy to leave as you might think.
It's very hard to go to Europe, of course, mostly. There is only one train left, the Allegro train, and the problem is that it's like not everyone can travel. Only people with Russian or Finnish citizenship and with the vaccination certificates approved by the European Union.
And what's scary about that, and I mean, I don't know, right or wrong, but are the Russian vaccines approved? Did they take approved vaccines? Maybe, maybe not. I'm assuming many did, but maybe some didn't. And, you know, I'm assuming most people there have their citizenship. If you don't have your citizenship in Russia, then you're screwed. That makes sense. But the borders closing is really still what strikes home. You know, the borders closed in Germany. You couldn't leave the country. You were either a Nazi or you were a Jew, essentially, and you were either put into a concentration camp or you were, working for some part of the German military or German government or German country, and you couldn't leave. And it's just more and more and more Nazi-like. And again, as I stated previously, I really didn't want to draw those comparisons. It wasn't until we got to like 30 parts in this series that I even started using pictures to draw those comparisons. And now we're over 50 parts in when I'm actually using verbal comparisons. But more and more does this remind me of World War II and Nazi-like times. And that makes unfortunate sense due to the fact that Putin grew up towards the end of World War II. So, it's hard when one man, again, is controlling the fate of his own people who don't want this happening, and of course, Ukraine's people who obviously don't want to be invaded. So,
Basically, we saw a rise in our passenger numbers from last Saturday onwards, and especially the trains coming from St. Petersburg to Helsinki are now full for next few days.
I don't know why they have to have that beeping sound. That's the hardest part. So not only are these train prices expensive, even if you were rich or you were middle class in Russian times, it's like if you had $100, that $100 is now worth $10 because of how bad the dollar crashed. In this case, it's the ruble, but just to draw comparisons. And majority of people probably won't even be able to afford to get out of the country, so it's just heartbreaking. I mean, these people can't even be proud of their country because they're not even okay with what's going on in the world. And one man determines the whole country and maybe the whole world's fate, and that's just wrong.